Welcome here to your very first program. Remember, when we log into a code.org level, we want to go ahead and read the instructions, and then we will proceed as follows. So do this. Run the program to see what it does. Remember, in order to run, we will click this big button that says Run. And you might notice, you might be looking right here and you don't see anything. And that is actually because all of this code is actually being executed down here in what we call the debug console. So this console.log is actually your very first command. And this is going to be a command. We are inputting we're inputting. This is a very simple program. So what this is this is kind of like your function. The system has a built-in function called console.log, and this piece right here is your input. Notice at the end of every line, there is a semicolon. We'll talk about that in the future. It's just a syntactical thing. So when we ran this program, we might have seen, I'll go ahead and run it again, that each command was highlighted. When the system highlights the command, that's the command that's actually in action right there. So it's honestly kind of slow, right? Take a look at this tortoise and this hare. If you take this cursor and move it closer to the hare, we're going to see that this program runs a whole lot faster. You're going to really kind of find value in sliding this back and forth, depending on what your needs are. You might sometimes want your program to run really fast, or your program might have a bug in it and you're like, I don't know where it is, but if you slow it down, you'll be able to see where the piece of code gets caught. So some other things about coding in code.org. Right here, we see that this is our toolbox. Right now, we have these are different commands. And so right now, our only pieces that are available to us are the console.log, and then in the functions, a comment. We'll talk about the comments in a moment. This is what we call block coding. It's really nice. Block code was actually first seen in the coding program Scratch, which was created by a man named Mitch Resnick, who actually worked for Legos before moving on and creating Scratch. So block coding is actually based off of Legos. You'll see that these fit perfectly together like Legos. One more thing is, in the future, you may be very comfortable with coding, or maybe you are right now, or maybe you aspire to be. The code.org is really cool because we can go back and forth between both text-based code and block-based code. The really cool thing is if I was to type in console.log and maybe write a command, I can actually turn it into block code. So kind of some features of the code.org interface. Let's go ahead and keep on thinking about this. So it says discuss. Why do you think some information is in quotes and some is not? You might not have even had the chance to realize this. So let's really dive in deep right here. It may also be useful to do Control plus and Control minus. I know that your Chromebooks have itty bitty screens, but by using Control plus and Control minus, you might be able to optimize your kind of space that you're working with. Back to the discussion part. So why do you think some information is in quotes and some is not? So if we're looking, we're actually talking about right here. If you notice, hi is in quotes. This is a very simple programs in quotes. You can display text in quotes, but you can also display numbers like this. And here is your first instance of a value not, or an input not being held together with quotes. There's two different ideas going on here. If you have text, we call that a string. So strings are going to require double quotes in order to print, hey, these are strings. But if you wanted to do a number, you would go ahead and not use quotes. So values, a number is going to be a value, are not going to require quotes. We'll talk about variables in the future. We won't use quotes with variables. So it says try adding some code below. So what I want you to do is come over here to the console.log and try and write your very first pieces of code. Right here it says modify. We're going to add two codes, one that displays a string and one that displays a number. Now I've been talking a lot. Remember, strings quotes. Numbers, no quotes. So, oftentimes you'll see in programming, our very first line that we ever write is hello world. In order to make sure that this runs, I'll click reset, run. Again, we're not looking here. We are simply looking for the console. Now tell me a little bit more about the console. Like, what is that? So the debug console is going to be an area that displays a string or variable values written in the code. We're going to use this console so much in the future. Right now, just kind of know it as it's going to be a debugging tool that will help you understand what your code is doing. I think that's the best way to really phrase what the debug console is. So we've got 25, we've got hello world. What if, this is really interesting. What if I put in a number here? 5, 6, 8. What if I put in a number? Hey, take a look. It prints it. That is because 568, it's actually reading it as a piece of text rather than a value. So we'll talk about that when we talk more about math. We wouldn't be able to use this idea to do any calculations. However, speaking of, why did I just do something? What if I did 91 plus 9? I'm going above and beyond right now, but hey, take a look. If you didn't have quotes, you can actually use math. This is actually a calculator, 91 plus 9, and it outputted 100. Now let me show you one more thing. So notice, right now, I am actually playing around with the code. What I want you to do is I encourage you to ask yourself these different what-if questions when you are working with any sort of programming. Beyond what the system's asking you. You will learn more the more that you think, wonder, and question. So what if I was to put in words without quotes? Like, yo, what's up? Notice right here, there is a little red square, and it's saying expected a parenthesis, instead saw was, missing semicolon. Sometimes these red squares will help us out. If anything, this red square right now is telling me that, like, hey, this isn't going to run. And notice your thing's not going to run. Remember, if you want to add letters, as in text or a string, you will have to use quotes. And now, yo, what's up? Should display down here. Sweet. This was a longer video than the rest will be, but that's because I really wanted to show you how to work the code.org user interface. Look at this right here. I can move this workspace up and down. Maybe you want that iPhone to be smaller. We're not even using it. Go ahead and use all these different like screens, these screen adjusters to kind of optimize how you need to be able to view your screen here. Once again, if you don't have a mouse, I would highly recommend getting yourself a $3 mouse is all it takes, and it's going to help your life a lot, or your frustrations. I don't know. Anyways, thanks.